This was something special. Now I see why he's the president of movies. You know what I'm saying? Because like no, let me shut up. Real review. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, of course. As I'm just getting out today, we are going to be talking about Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, directed by Christopher McQuarrie. Boys, this movie was great. I heard people didn't like this movie a couple weeks ago, the early screenings. What is wrong with niggas? What is wrong with y'all? What more could you want type shit? No, I don't think this is the last Mission Impossible we're gonna see. But I think this is a great cherry on top if this is the last Mission Impossible. Before I say anything else, of course, I'm gonna throw up that quick spoiler warning, you feel me? For anyone who has not watched Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning in its entirety and does not want to be spoiled, as I will be talking about this movie in some detail, I suggest you click off this video, go watch the movie, and come back to it. It'll be here for you. But if you don't care, we welcome you anyway. If I'm gonna be honest, the only real issue I had with this movie is maybe it's a little too dialogue-y. But the thing is, the dialogue is good. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, so let's get into this intro, of course. Now, I do like the intro a lot. Granted that I did just watch Dead Reckoning for the first time yesterday. If you have that chance, watch Dead Reckoning right before you watch this movie, because it bleeds together so well. 3 months after the events of Dead Reckoning, Ethan and the IMF are still dealing, of course, with the entity. Now, when Luther exited out of Dead Reckoning, he did mention that he was going to try to figure out some way to stop this thing, but he has to do it by himself and under the radar and all that, because the entity is like all across the internet, you feel me? Like, it's viral, for lack of a better word, of course. Luther does figure out a way to stop the entity with this thing they call it the poison pill. First scene in the movie, Ethan Hunt receives a message actually from the president of the United States, who's played by Angela Bassett. If that's not a strong point, I don't know what is. You know what I'm saying? That's a beautiful woman playing a powerful role. I'm kind of into it. You know what I'm saying? Let me chill out. Basically, the message is, it's the typical, you know, Mission Impossible intro where she explains the fate of the world right now. Well, basically, we need Ethan to turn himself in because he still has the key from the movie before, and they're trying to figure out a way to stop the entity before it contaminates the cyberspace too much. To be quite honest, though, it doesn't matter at this point just how much widespread of an infection this thing has caused. Basically, every government in the world wants to control the entity. Ethan wants to kill it, hence why he's on the run right now. Ethan decides not to turn himself in, but instead he's trying to figure out some way, I guess, to contain and kill the entity. In doing so, he needs to find Gabriel again, who we also met in the last movie. I could be wrong. Now, granted, I haven't watched the majority of the franchise in quite some time, over a year, easily. The history between Gabriel and Ethan, it seems to be quite important, or quite heavily involved with Ethan's story and how he was introduced into the IMF. From what I could gather, Gabriel killed a love interest of Ethan's way back when, 30 years ago, probably around the first movie, and he was framed for her murder. They don't really explain more than that, but I'm assuming that's why Ethan hates Gabriel. Gabriel's just a sociopath though, so you know what I'm saying? Like, he really just be doing this shit just to do it. Ethan tries to find Gabriel at this party in Venice or something, runs into Grace again. Grace is now part of the IMF. They actually do get ambushed by Gabriel here. Before, last movie, Dead Reckoning, he was working for the entity. This movie, he wants to control the entity. Gabriel now threatening them with torture if Ethan does not give Gabriel the key that he stole from him. This key leads to the source code behind the entity. I do like how much they explain the entity itself and where it comes from and all that shit that lies underneath, because my gosh, we had a full circle thing going and I like it a lot. Of course, Ethan breaks out. Ethan finds the device that Gabriel used to talk to the entity when he was working for the entity, of course. He actually gets in the device. You're inside of a box. It's a mask on top of your face. The entity is now showing Ethan images, basically showing him the future because of how much it can like calculate all these different outcomes and stuff. So Ethan sees a whole bunch of shit. Basically the entity's plan, which is to control all of the world's nuclear defenses or nuclear arms and then just blow the earth to smithereens, ending all human life. So when he gets out of this machine thing, he does tell Benji here that Benji's gonna have to take care of the group because he can't be the leader right now. I'm sure his reasoning was basically the entity needed Ethan to lead this whole thing. Ethan is a huge part of the entity's plan. That's obvious. I'm assuming Ethan steps back from team leader to kind of like throw the entity off. When Ethan was in the machine, it did show one of your friends is going to die that night. The one friend he knows is vulnerable is unfortunately Luther. So Luther being an OG, played by Ving Rhames, of course. Shout out Ving Rhames. We actually do find out earlier in the film he's quite ill. He's still, you know, tinkering all that shit. Gabriel does find Luther. Instead of killing him right away, Gabriel's a sociopath. He's a psycho. He wants to cause as much damage as he can. He steals Luther's poison pill that he made for the entity, locks Luther in a room with a nuclear bomb. Yeah. Ethan figures out that Luther's in trouble, so he does get there as fast as he can. By the time he gets there, though, Luther's already in the room trying to disarm the bomb. And Luther tells him, this bomb has enough plutonium to take out this entire city. But if I take out one of the detonators, the bomb would have a fraction of its original power. I'm probably going to be the only one that dies. As much as I would have liked for them to have figured out a way to get Luther out of this, unfortunately, Luther does succumb to the bomb. It was a great show of sacrifice here on Luther's part, as he did decide that he'd rather him be the only casualty here than, you know, them losing the entire city and of course killing all of his friends, all that. So yeah, noble way to go out, Luther. It's a bit of a tearjerker here, I'm not gonna lie. It's a great scene between Ethan and Luther as well. So he truly did go out. Oh my god, I almost said something crazy. I almost said he went out with a bang. That's a bad choice of words. He truly did go out on his own terms, though. It softens the blow a little bit that, you know, he was sick, but still, it's sad to see. It's sad stuff to see. That's where I think the intro ends now. Now, I'm going to quickly talk about a couple things that I did like. Well, a lot of things I liked about this movie. Starting off with the stunt sequences we get in this film. Oh my gosh. Some of these action scenes were some of the most creative sequences I've ever seen put together in a film. Shout out to the second unit, all the people behind the stunts, all the people behind the action here. They did their thing, bro. Oh my gosh. Tom Cruise, of course, leading the charge there, I'm sure, doing all his own stunts. Now, the scene where they're in a submarine, right, or underwater, he's supposed to find this submarine underwater, and he's like 600 feet underwater or something. I couldn't even imagine doing that in a submarine, much less in the wetsuit he was in. But that scene was beautiful. It was so suspenseful. You know what I'm saying? I know he was gonna live to the end of the movie. That was just my guess. Just watching this scene, it truly had me on the edge of my seat. And just all the other action scenes in this movie were just so well thought out. Tom Cruise put so much care into this, and you could tell how proud he was of this movie. Oh my gosh. Again, this is why they call him the president of movies, bro. It's a well-deserved title. Now, another thing I did like a lot about this movie was the camera work and the visuals. Even the scene where Ethan's talking to the entity, that was beautiful. Love the cinematography here. All that jazz. Another thing I liked as well, the characters in this movie were so damn good. Our main cast was star-studded, of course. Tom Cruise, Haley Atwell, Pom Klementieff. I'm sorry if I mispronounced her name, but of course from Guardians of the Galaxy fame. Angela Bassett again, Ving Rhames, Simon Pegg. Even some of the new characters we got, I loved as well. Greg Tarzan Davis returns from Dead Reckoning. Nick Offerman joins the scene. Holt McCallany joins it. I love Holt McCallany, you know what I'm saying? He's such a great side antagonist. The people we saw in the submarine, I think his name's McLeod. Who? I could be wrong. But Hannah Weddingham, who I'm pretty sure is British, had a perfect American accent. I don't understand how they can do that shit. Kudos to her. There's legacy characters, right? There's legacy roles when it comes to movies that have reboots or long-awaited sequels and stuff like that. I'm excited to say this, but like, well done though, from the original Mission Impossible movie, like the one scene that everyone knows from that movie. He came back. I love that, dude. You know what I'm saying? Granted, that was 30 years later, but he was recognizable. And again, it's more full circle moments we get here like that. Another thing I did like a lot was probably the score and sound design, which was absolutely brilliant. And just for an example here, when he's in that submarine again, the sounds we were getting, and it's like no real music, but it's all like the submarine moving underwater, and it just builds this suspense, you know, the imminent danger that Ethan's in. It just pulls you into the movie. And I wasn't even in a 4DX theater, but I felt like that bitch was shaking. I love when the audio is just on point like that, and the score was also great. Come on now, who doesn't love the Mission Impossible theme? Dun 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 dun. And also another shout out to Tom Cruise. You know what I'm saying? The stunts he was performing in this movie, unbelievable. I need to know how much of this shit was real though, because it looks crazy, especially the scenes where he's like hanging off an airplane. I need to know how much of that was real. It was ridiculous. It gets absolutely crazy, hundreds of feet in the air off an actual airplane. You know what I'm saying? Like that's crazy to me. We're gonna quickly talk about the end here. Ending I like a lot. I think it's very satisfying. Ethan has put together the entity's plan. Again, he wants to wipe off the human race with nuclear missiles and stuff like that. So he finds out that the entity's most likely going to be in this one bunker that's in the Congo. Basically, like, this is the one place on Earth that's shielded from all electricity, shielded from the internet, and shielded from any type of electromagnetic signal. All of mankind's like knowledge that they would want to preserve if there was a world-ending event, like, you know, the countries of the world nuking each other to the Stone Age. Ethan also figures that Gabriel's gonna be here as well, granted that he has the poison pill and he probably wants to use it to control the entity. At the end here, when we're in this bunker and it's a big ass cave again in the Congo, think of Ethan's crew as like the neutral group here. They don't think it's something that any person, any one group, any one government, any one country should, you know, have that kind of power. It's better if we get rid of it. So at this point, the entity has taken over probably like 75% of the internet. If they are to kill the entity, I guess it would just wipe out the cyberspace. Why? Tell me why these people, like the governments across the world, they rather risk nuclear warfare between every country on the planet rather than lose the internet. Explain that shit. Like, yeah, you won't have internet, but you'll be alive. Ethan actually does have this brilliant plan, if I'm gonna be honest. When they let the entity into the bunker, they have a way of trapping it, shutting it off from everything. And let me say this, the reason why I like the full circle moments we're getting here, even to the entity, it's full circle, because we find out that the entity didn't start back in Dead Reckoning or when that takes place. That scene we see from the entity like coming to be and the submarine blowing up, that's from the winter of 2012. That's what they say. This blew my mind. Ethan actually stole the beginning phases of the entity, or like the early stages, or like its cocoon phase, which then spawns the entity as it is now. Basically, Ethan is the reason this all happened. Gabriel and Ethan are now, I don't want to say going at it exactly, because this is the crazy shit I'm talking about, where it's just like a plane scene. Ethan hanging off a plane, Gabriel's in another plane flying off. Ethan takes control of the plane he's hanging off of, and they kind of have like a dogfight with the planes, but they don't have guns, so they're just ramming into each other. And I was like, that's kind of ridiculous to do. Ethan does manage to get onto Gabriel's plane. Ethan gets the poison pill back from Gabriel, this being the only real way to actually get the entity inside the bunker. They're tricking the entity into thinking it's going to be safe once it's in there, but it won't be. And Gabriel actually ends up dying here, and it was a pretty funny scene if you ask me. He's about to fly out the airplane, but he's like, oh, only one of us got a parachute, haha bitch. And then as he lets go, he hits the back rudder of the plane and he splits his head open on the rudder, and then of course he fell to his impending doom. That was crazy. Ethan does manage to trap the entity inside the bunker remotely using the poison pill and this thing called the PAV coder or something like that. In order to trap the entity inside the bunker, they had to make this thing, I can't even think of what it's called. Think of the entity as, this was a great analogy by Benji here. Think of the entity as a genie. Think as this containment device we've made as the genie's lamp. Once we get the entity inside here, we disconnect from the server and it's trapped. It has nowhere else to go. And that freaking worked. Day is saved. Mind you, they had maybe seconds before the US decides to eliminate, I think it was 8 cities across the world, including one of their own. Oh my gosh, that would have been insane. That movie does end there. Of course, a denouement where Ethan's, you know, in London, and we do actually see that everyone is all right. Satisfying ending here. And it ends with Ethan walking away. He has a smirk on his face. I think that was to us. I'm telling you, this is not the last Mission Impossible, but I would not be mad if it was. I do not like the fact that Grace and Ethan being together was just rubbed in our faces that whole movie, and then we just don't see it happening really. I'm hoping they're together, because the chemistry was off the charts, and damn, she was feeling him, bro. But that was Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. Just gonna give my final thoughts and ratings here, starting with the writing and story. Again, I like how much we go kind of tie up all these loose ends basically from before. Full circle moments, they work a lot in its favor for the movie here. And again, the story is very interesting. I think it's a very unique concept and conflict we actually see. So the writing and story. Now, I wish I could give it a bit higher of a rating here, but again, the dialogue it's not terrible, but it's just like it's a lot. So for the writing and story, I'm going to give this movie a 8 out of 10. Next is going to be the sound design and score. Love the hell out of this shit. The audio, when the audio can pull you into the movie, it's just great. It's such a great experience, bro. This is why I go to the theaters every week. For the sound design and score though, this is gonna get a 9 out of 10. I think that's very fair. Next is the casting and acting. I loved every single person in this movie, no joke. The casting was so good. The chemistry was so good between the actors here. The antagonist was great. Protagonist was amazing. Our side cast was great. Acting and casting, I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 10. Next is going to be the cinematography. Great shots, great visuals, great camera work all around. Again, I love the stuff with the submarine and how we were like underwater that whole time, basically. A lot of the shots they used in that scene as well was just phenomenal. It was freaking crazy watching Ethan hang off the airplane. Great stuff all around. Cinematography is going to get we're going to give it another 9 out of 10 here. You know what I'm saying? Another 9 out of 10. Now for the overall. Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. Easiest 9 out of 10 I've ever given. Such a good cherry on top for the film. Honestly, I don't know how people could not have liked this movie. They had to have been lying. Great ending to this character's story. Great ending to his legacy. Tom Cruise is probably the best action star to ever grace the silver screen. You know, he's been doing what he's been doing for 40 years. I would love to hear someone argue that there's a better action star than Tom freaking Cruise. I've said my piece. I'm gonna go now. You know what I'm saying? It's late. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Shouldn't be up right now, but I am. Ryan never stops. You feel me? It's definitely gonna stop after this because I'm about to KO. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Next week, it's a twofer for me at least. We are going to be watching Bring Her Back and the Karate Kid Legends movie. I'll get back to you on that second one. I have no faith in that movie, to be fair. But again, I appreciate y'all for tuning in so much, for real. So if y'all did enjoy the video, you can toss me with them likes. I truly do appreciate them. They don't go without notice. Again, that's gonna be it for me from here. I'm sure that's the 8th time I've said goodbye, but I really mean it this time. So without further ado, I'm gonna bid y'all good night, better morning, all that ish, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. I'm out. God bless.